Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I want to start by saying something before we get into this. This case is not easy to tell and it's not easy to hear because at the center of it is a 20-year-old girl who had her whole life ahead of her. And the person who destroyed that life was someone she called her best friend. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out to a crisis line in your country. You don't have to go through anything alone. This is the story of Renae Marsden, Sydney, Australia, August 5th, 2013. Let's start from the beginning. Because to understand what happened to Renae, you need to understand who she was first. Renae was 20 years old. She was bubbly, warm, the kind of person who walks into a room and immediately makes everyone feel comfortable. She had this energy about her, genuinely magnetic, and she was training to become a hairdresser. Her parents, Teresa and Mark, absolutely adored her. And Renae adored them right back, like to the point where she actually got a tattoo of her mother's name on her body and gave it to her as a Mother's Day gift. That's the kind of relationship they had. Now, before all of this, Renae had been in a relationship, a long one, with a guy named Angus. They met at the hair salon where she was training. He used to come in, and honestly, he didn't even care about getting his hair done. He just kept coming back because of her. And Renae fell for him too. They were together for years, planning a future, talking about 4 kids, a Labrador, the whole thing. Angus later said those were the best years of his life. But there was someone in Renae's life who didn't feel the same way about Angus. Her best friend, a girl named Camille. Camille and Renae had been close for about 5 years. And from the outside it looked like a normal friendship. But Camille, from very early on, had feelings for Renae that went far beyond friendship. Real, obsessive, consuming feelings, and Renae had absolutely no idea. Renae was straight. She was attracted to men. She wanted a husband, a family, children. She saw Camille as her best friend and nothing more. But Camille saw something completely different every time she looked at Renae. And so Camille started doing what obsessive people do when they can't have what they want. She started controlling. Little things at first. She couldn't stand Renae's cousin Stephanie. Would do everything possible to cause problems between them. Didn't want Renae staying at other people's houses. Didn't want her traveling with anyone else. Didn't want her to have any close connection that didn't go through Camille first. And then there was the phone calls. One day, Renae went on a 50-minute road trip with Stephanie. Just 50 minutes. In those 50 minutes, Camille called her 16 times. 16 times. That's basically once every 3 minutes. Stephanie looked at Renae and said, "This is not normal." And Renae just said, "It's fine, don't worry about it." But it wasn't fine. It was never fine. Now, Camille had been pushing Renae away from Angus for a while. Always in her ear, always planting seeds of doubt, telling her she deserved better, that Angus wasn't right for her, that she was wasting her best years. And eventually it worked. Renae broke up with Angus. Her parents were devastated. They loved Angus. He was kind, respectful, clearly devoted to their daughter. And one day Renae came home crying, telling them it was over. And that's when Camille made her move. She told Renae, "I have someone perfect for you. His name is Braiden. You two are going to be amazing together." And she introduced her online to this man named Braiden. Renae started messaging Braiden, and immediately something clicked. He seemed to understand her perfectly. He knew exactly what she wanted in life. He talked about marriage, about children, about building a future together. He was everything she'd been looking for. There was just one complication. Braiden was in prison for involuntary manslaughter. He'd been on a motorbike, got into an accident, his passenger died. It was a tragedy, not a malicious act. And Camille, who had helped arrange the phone access for him inside, explained all of this to Renae. Renae's parents weren't thrilled. Their daughter, fresh out of a long relationship, and now she's falling for someone behind bars? But they saw how happy she was, and they were the kind of parents who supported their child no matter what, so they let it go. Now here's the detail that matters. Renae and Braiden never met in real life. Not once. They never spoke on the phone. They never video called. Everything, every single moment of their 18-month relationship happened through text messages. And those messages came at very specific times. When Camille was free, Braiden was messaging. When Camille was busy, Braiden went quiet. The timing was never the same. But Renae didn't see it. She was too deep in love with someone who didn't exist. Because here's the truth. Braiden wasn't real. There was no man in prison named Braiden. Braiden was Camille. Every message, every declaration of love, every plan for the future they built together when he got out, every understanding word, every perfect response that knew exactly what Renae needed to hear. All of it typed by Camille on a second phone number she kept specifically for this purpose. Camille had done her research. She hadn't just made up a random name. She had found a real person, a man named Cameron Lang, and used his photos for the profile. She studied the way people spoke online. She crafted an entire personality, an entire history, an entire human being, all to keep Renae close, all to keep Renae dependent on a relationship that could never go anywhere. Because the man didn't exist while Camille stayed right there. The constant, the reliable one, the one Renae always came back to. Cameron Lang, the real man whose face was used, found out about this case years later. He was horrified. He said, "It felt like I had been used to push a girl toward her death, and I had nothing to do with any of it." He had never met Camille. He had never met Renae. His face was borrowed without his knowledge and used to destroy a life. For 18 months, Renae lived inside this relationship. She was emotionally all over the place. Happy when Braiden's messages were loving, devastated when he went quiet, completely at the mercy of whatever Camille decided to send her that day. And then Renae met someone real. His name was Ian. He was 12 years older than her, mature, grounded, well respected. Her family loved him. For the first time in a long time, they saw Renae genuinely relaxed, genuinely happy in a way that felt sustainable. And that's when Camille panicked. She reactivated Braiden. Suddenly, Braiden was back, and he wasn't happy. He sent Ian threatening messages. He said, "I was going to marry her. You need to stay away from her. Back off or there will be consequences." Ian, a normal man who had never been involved in anything like this in his life, was completely shaken. He went to Renae and said, "You need to choose. Either this Braiden situation goes away permanently or I walk away." Renae chose Braiden. She ended things with Ian and went back to a ghost. Now, there was one moment where Renae almost saw the truth. Camille went to America for a month, and that same month, Braiden suddenly went silent. He told Renae his court hearings had started and he couldn't access his phone. He said, "Just wait. I only have 2 months left. When I get out, I'm going to marry you. We're going to have everything we talked about." And Renae waited. But here's what's extraordinary about that month. Without Camille, without the constant contact and the emotional manipulation, Renae exhaled. She spent more time with her mom. She went out with friends. She laughed more. She felt free in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She just didn't understand why. She didn't make the connection. And when Camille came back from America, Braiden came back too. Right on schedule. Around the same time, something significant happened. Renae finally told her mom about something Camille had done to her physically. She said that once, while they were driving together, Camille had grabbed the wheel and tried to drive them off a cliff. She said Camille had also, on another occasion, pushed her violently against a wall and tried to kiss her. Renae had been scared. She had kept it to herself because she didn't know how to explain what was happening. She didn't fully understand it herself. But now she told her mom, and she said, I've made my decision. Camille is out of my life. She wrote Braiden a message that same day. She told him she was finally removing Camille and she felt lighter than she had in years. She called him her hero. She said he was everything to her. That message Braiden never read because Camille was still in America when Renae sent it. She didn't have access to the second phone, so the message just sat there unanswered. When Camille got back, she found out that Renae was cutting her off, and so she did the only thing she had left. She used Braiden one final time. She sent Renae a message as Braiden, saying, I've been thinking about this. I've decided to end our relationship. No explanation, no context, just it's over. After 18 months of waiting, after turning down a real relationship, after getting his name tattooed on her body, 3 months into knowing him, he was just gone. Renae was devastated. She sent 91 messages back. 91 messages between her and Braiden that day. Only Camille and Renae know what was in them. But we know what they led to. That evening, August 5th, 2013, Renae came home from work. Her mom, Teresa, was there. She looked at Renae's face and knew immediately something was wrong. She asked her if everything was okay. Renae said she was fine, went upstairs. 5 minutes later, Braiden sent Teresa a message. He said, Go check on your daughter. She's threatening to hurt herself. Teresa ran upstairs. She sat with Renae. She held her. She saw that Renae was applying makeup, doing her hair, getting ready for something. She thought, okay, she's calming down. She's getting herself together. She stayed a little while longer, and then, reassured, she left. What Teresa didn't know was that Renae wasn't getting ready to go out with friends. She was getting ready to go to a place called The Gap. The Gap is a cliff top in Sydney, one of the most tragically well-known locations in Australia, with around 50 deaths a year. Renae had chosen it, and before she left, she sent 3 messages. One to her mom, one to her best friend, or who she believed was her best friend, and one to Braiden. To her mom, she wrote, I love you so much. I'm sorry you're my best friend. Teresa read that message. Her heart stopped. She ran back upstairs. Renae was gone. She grabbed her keys and drove first to a friend's house to get help, then started searching everywhere she could think of. She called Camille, showed her the messages. Camille said, We need to call the police. Police tracked Renae's phone signal to The Gap. Her car was found parked there. Inside the car, a Valentine's Day card from Braiden. And her old phone, the one she'd stopped using 2 months earlier, the one that held 18 months of messages with the man she loved. On the windscreen of the car, written in her own finger, the words, Braiden, I love you. Renae's body was never recovered from the water below. Her family held a funeral. They never got to say goodbye properly, and they still had no idea why. The old phone. Police couldn't unlock it. They tried for months, and then Renae's 13-year-old brother stepped forward. He had a friend who was good with technology. And that friend, a teenager, found an app online for about $100 that could extract the messages from the locked device. They bought it. 10 minutes later, they had everything 11,000 messages, half between Renae and Braiden, half between Renae and Camille. Renae's parents sat down and started reading. And as they went through the timestamps, something became undeniable. Every time Camille was messaging Renae as herself, Braiden was silent. Every time Camille went quiet, Braiden appeared. The two never overlapped. Not once. In 18 months. Not a single moment where both Camille and Braiden were active at the same time. Teresa and Mark looked at each other, and they understood. They went to the police with everything. Police investigated. They traced the messages to the same IP address. Braiden didn't exist. He had never existed. Every messages, every promise, every declaration of love. Camille. Police searched Camille's house, found nothing usable. Her phone had been completely wiped. They did find one photograph of Camille and Braiden together, photoshopped. They found the real man in the photo. Cameron Lang brought him in for questioning. He was devastated. He said, "I've never met these people. My face was used for this. It feels like I was used to push a girl toward her death." And then came the moment the family had been waiting for. Police brought Camille in. And here, 7 years after Renae's death, Camille was offered an immunity deal. Give your testimony, tell us everything, and we won't prosecute you. She accepted. She sat in that courtroom, and then she told one more lie. She told the court that Braiden had been a joint creation, her and Renae together, that they had invented him as a cover story for their own secret romantic relationship, that society and their families wouldn't have accepted them as a couple, so they created Braiden together as a fictional boyfriend for Renae to explain away the closeness between them. Renae's family were speechless, not because the lie hurt them, but because they knew with absolute certainty it wasn't true. They were open-minded parents. They had told Renae 1,000 times, "Whatever you want, whoever you love, we support you completely." The prisons, the boyfriends, the choices they didn't always agree with, they had accepted everything. And in those 11,000 messages, there was one that proved Camille's story was impossible. At some point, as Braiden, Camille had suggested to Renae that maybe she should be with Camille, that maybe what Camille felt for her was what she'd been looking for all along. Renae's response was clear. She said, "No, absolutely not. That is never going to happen. I'm not attracted to women. Camille is my friend, and nothing more, and nothing will ever change that." Renae wasn't hiding a secret relationship. She was the victim of one. Here's what the legal system told Renae's family. Camille hadn't broken any laws. Catfishing at that time in Australia was not a criminal offense. She hadn't stolen money. She hadn't made explicit threats. She had simply created a fictional person and used him to psychologically manipulate her best friend for 18 months. Unless there was a direct written instruction, "Go jump, go hurt yourself," something explicit, there was nothing to charge her with. The case was left open 7 years. Cold case status. No charges, no conviction, no accountability. And Camille today is living her life. Married, children, a normal existence in the same area as Renae's family. They see her sometimes at the supermarket, in the streets, and they have to keep walking. I want to say something before I finish. The reason I wanted to tell this story, beyond Renae herself, is because of what it teaches us about the internet. Renae was smart, she was loved, she had people around her who cared about her deeply, And she still spent 18 months in a relationship with someone who didn't exist without ever suspecting it for a second. Because Braiden was created by someone who knew her, someone who had spent 5 years studying her, learning her fears, her hopes, her insecurities, someone who knew exactly which words would land and exactly when to send them. We're so quick to say, how could someone fall for that? But when the catfish is built by someone who loves you, even in the most destructive, possessive, unhealthy version of love, they know you better than any stranger ever could. And with AI now, with the ability to generate voices, generate faces, generate entire conversations that feel completely real, this can happen to anyone. Anyone. Renae died thinking she had been abandoned by the love of her life. She had no idea that love was never real. She had no idea the person who destroyed her was the person sitting in the car next to her, calling her 16 times in 15 minutes, getting jealous of her tattoos, smiling at her every day. If this case means anything, let it mean this. Check on your people. The ones who seem fine, the ones who seem happy, the ones who laugh loudest. And if you're struggling, please talk to someone, a parent, a friend, a crisis line. You deserve real love, real connection, not a ghost someone invented to control you. Rest easy, Renae. You deserved so much better. If you liked this video, please like it and subscribe for receive the next videos. Take care, my friends, and see you in the next one.